I know these two devices I'm comparing the RG477M to are vertical handhelds, but my reasoning for the comparison is in terms of the physical hardware concept as opposed to an emulation machine. And thanks to the RG477M's BFI, black frame insertion, featured in my previous video, and its ability to handle the most difficult of shaders, this handheld is probably the strongest case against physical hardware options on the market today. Whether it's the original DMG or FPGA, which stands for Fun Package Grabs Anus, like the Chromatic, I do feel this is a worthwhile thing to think about. Also, a big thank you to Lit NXT who provided this device. I don't often just give them a shout out in the videos. I always put the link in the description, but I don't mention them in the videos. They are constantly sending me these devices for review, so I want to say thank you to them. This is a particularly expensive device, so I do want you just to click on the link, go check out their website, see what they have on offer. The one thing that I like about them, specifically living in South Africa, is that I get the devices quite quickly and for free shipping to South Africa. Now, I have had the RG477M in my studio for a while, and I'm gonna start with the worst thing about it, and then get into the good stuff. So, the fan. Oh my goodness. Sweet mother of all that is retro and gaming related. They updated the fan curve as promised, and you'll be pleased to know it has made absolutely no difference. Okay, so they put a cool mode in your high mode. So when you set the CPU to high, there is now a cool option which slows the fan down a bit, but it is still very noisy. So here we go. I'm busy using GameHub, so it's running. I've actually switched it off because it's making such a noise and it's actually already starting to heat up. So let's put it on high mode. The fan automatically goes on when you put it on high mode. Now there's a cool option here. I'm gonna tap on the cool option. So here's auto. Let's put it, where's the fan there? So there's auto, and this is cool. So it does make a difference, but it's still got a very high-pitched whining sound, which sucks balls. Whoever signed off on this fan needs to be put in a room alone with this fan on high next to their ear for 48 hours. That is their punishment. Then they can come to me and tell me it's acceptable, because it isn't. It just isn't. This is the worst sounding fan of any device I have tested, apart from maybe an actual fan. No, not a fan, a fan. Whatever, the fan sucks. It makes me want to drink. That's better. For retro games like low-end systems like SNES, NES, etc., you can get away with simply running with the fan off. But when you really want to get into the benefits of this device like GameHub and high-end emulation, the fan is something that will definitely annoy you. Okay, so this is the fix that I saw online, and I'm doing it live now as I record this video. So I generally pre-do everything when I do these talking bits, but now we are going to do this live and do my live reaction of this thing. So that's strong. So what I'm noticing is that cool is definitely, so strong is still noisy because it's so damn strong, but cool is definitely softer. That is actually bearable. I mean, it's a fan, but it's bearable. So there we go, live on screen. Journalism. So speaking of fixes for things, this video is sponsored by PCBWay. So I would like to tell you about them, and they currently have a special on TPU prints. I printed this delightful head in the corner there. He's got tape on because he's very naughty, and the quality was very good, and they were very helpful in helping me customize that print and get it perfect for what I needed, and also to get it within budget. So speak to PCBWay about sheet metal stuff, custom PCBs, CNC milling. And I think the other cool thing about them, I used a shared project a little while ago from their shared projects page. People share their projects that they did with PCBWay, and the nice thing is usually you'll be able to simply order whatever's on that page from PCBWay, and it's already tried and tested. So check out PCBWay for all your project needs Thank you PCBWay for sponsoring today's video. Now that I've had the RG477M for a while in the studio, what's it like sort of day to day using it in your life? You're not getting around the fact that this thing is a chonker. It has something to do with the design because there's no grip. It feels heavier than a Steam Deck, but it isn't. The heft does give it a nice feel to hold, but long gameplay sessions do get tiring. The case that comes with it is actually nice, giving it more girth also helps somehow with the perceived weight of the device. Somehow holding it on the slightly larger surface and softer surface gives it a lighter feeling. I know that doesn't really make sense because it is heavy, but I think if you had a grip on this would feel a lot lighter. Now I'm going to take the case off again because talking about design, I much prefer the brown or bronze or whatever this color is compared to the silver. I was not impressed with the silver. The silver feels like an unfinished factory prototype. This feels wonderful. It looks great. It's like it just took it to a finished product. I think the only thing I don't like is the fact that this thing shouldn't have RGB sticks. They should have just gone with black inlay here because now we've got this white/gray color here and I don't use the RGB. I've become one of those people. Like I used to think, oh, why are people complaining about cool RGB lights? Now I'm saying, shouldn't be in here. I am going to talk about more modern gaming at the end of this video where I test some Steam games. And here's where this nice inline design of the triggers falls flat on its face, because if you're playing any form of first-person shooter, these triggers suck balls. I have to focus on the screen a little bit here. I talked a lot about BFI in the previous video, and I mentioned that it seems to help with eye strain. And I can confirm that. The more I played with BFI on, the more I noticed it was relaxing to my eyes. Also, the size of the screen is perfect. If you want a 4:3 screen, but want to dabble in 16:9 content here and there, this screen is the first 4:3 screen where I feel it isn't a big compromise. Man, I need a drink. Now this sort of handheld is great. Almost unlimited access to old and new games, and a screen that is uncompromising and beautifully large for retro games. Even square systems look amazing. Devices like my modded DMG and the Modretro Chromatic are not a technical comparison because we're looking at objectively worse hardware on almost every front. The Chromatic holds its own with this great magnesium alloy shell, a pixel-to-pixel resolution color copy of the original DMG, meaning you're seeing the actual pixels on the screen, not a emulated version of it. And overall, I actually think the Chromatic brings a very cohesive and unified product to the market. Better than the RG477M and possibly even better than the DMG. And then we have the DMG, which is just a full nostalgia mind bend. I mean, like holding this in my hands is like a big F you to all the rich kids of my childhood who wouldn't let me play on their Game Boys. F you, rich kids. Now I have an original DMG with a nice battery pack, a fancy screen, better than you ever had. Take that, you loser schmucks, you assholes of 1989. I freaking hate you. So, maybe I should take a drink. Okay, let's take a look at some Game Boy games on each device and talk through the pitfalls of each. So the DMG is lovely with its refreshed screen and battery mod, but I will note that I needed to put the original membranes in because these ones I got on AliExpress were awful. And also I used the plastic guide to install the screen, which is now taped down with double-sided tape, and it's a little skew. Now I am too scared to adjust it, so I'm just left with a slightly skew screen, and then for a while I almost had unusable controls. However, I also have an original hardware device that takes me right back to my early childhood, a real mind bend. I must note that the color options on this high-speedido screen aren't great, and I can get a better retro look on the RG477M. Now, the Chromatic is hard to beat. For a modern Game Boy with its inspired screen that matches the DMG pixel to pixel and its color, it also plays Game Boy Color games, and you get to buy packaged games from Modretro. at a pretty high cost to really complete the experience. So this is the main reason I thought of this comparison, because it's a bit more affordable than the RG477M. If you're looking to use the RG477M to emulate Game Boy and Game Boy Color games because you saw it can do cool filters, the Chromatic has got it beat for sure. However, where the RG477M shines is actually TV systems like NES, Genesis, SNES, PS1, etc. Here you can curate your shaders, tweak it to your liking, and end up with a truly magical retro gaming setup for TV games. Also, where the RG477M is the absolute king for retro gaming is controls. Anbernic are the masters of a modern approach to membrane controls. So while the controls are direct and high quality, they still have a retro edge to them. So here's where something like the RG477M really hits a unique space in the market. An almost perfect retro device that can also travel to the future. With Android, you have a lot of options for more modern gaming. Android games, more current systems, although you'll struggle to do Switch emulation. Although I must recommend Retro Tech Dad's video, he did a bunch of Switch emulation on here, so you can check that out. But for example, PS2 is excellent on here. But what I want to focus on here is GameHub. In my review of this handheld, I said an update broke all my Steam gaming via GameHub. This has since been fixed, and we can now enjoy a limited but fair amount of Steam games via this app called GameHub. And what's more is that they are working on improving cloud saves. So it has cloud saves, so your Steam saves, they're improving it. So I'm getting mixed results, but I mean, I am getting results, and some of them are good results. What I will say is this did break. This system, this GameHub system broke with an update, and it took a while to get fixed. So it's risky business. Also, you'll be listening to the wonderful soundtrack going. That's a fan, by the way. Also, these triggers are not for the faint of heart, especially if you're into modern gaming. Man, I could do with a drink. So, gun to my head, would I buy the RG477M? You know, if I didn't have all these devices in the YouTube channel, would I buy this over something like the Modretro Chromatic? Yes. Actually, that's a very easy yes. Modded DMGs and something like the Chromatic are a novelty for someone who only plays Game Boy games or for someone who already owns a cool modern device. But if I had, say, a Steam Deck and I was shopping for a retro handheld, I would want this, and I would want something small and cheap like the RG34XX or SP. That's it. That's all I have. Bye.